The door was heavy, not heavy like a Whole Foods glass door that Braden would shoulder open while holding his oat milk latte. Heavy like ancient splintered wood that hadn't been cleaned since the concept of cleaning was invented. Which, spoiler alert, it hadn't been. Not here. Not yet. He pushed it open with both hands and immediately regretted every decision that had led him to this moment. Inside the hut, the air hit him like a wall. Thick, warm, alive with something rotten and sweet at the same time, like if you left a steak in a gym bag for a month and then microwaved it. The room was dark except for a small oil lamp flickering in the corner, and in the middle of the dirt floor, a man was screaming, not casually screaming. Screaming like someone was pressing a hot coal into his leg, which honestly would have been an upgrade from what was actually happening. An older man, bald, wearing nothing but a linen wrap around his waist, was scooping a brown-greenish paste from a clay pot and smearing it directly into an open wound on the screaming man's thigh. The paste was chunky, it glistened. Flies were landing on it, and the healer wasn't even bothering to wave them away.
It's perfectly safe.
Braden's stomach flipped. He gagged once, twice, and then emptied whatever was left of his last sweet green salad onto the dirt floor. The healer looked up at him with absolute zero concern, the way you'd glance at a dog walking by. Then he pointed at a cut on Braden's forearm, a scrape he'd gotten God knows when, scooped a fresh glob of the paste and held it out toward him. Braden looked at it. Really looked at it. The texture was wrong. The color was wrong. The smell was a war crime. And then someone behind him said a word he didn't understand, but the gesture was clear enough. This was crocodile dung, fresh, locally sourced, artisanal crocodile dung. And this man wanted to rub it into his open wound. Welcome to ancient Egypt. Now, let me back up. Because Braden didn't just appear in a mud hut in the Nile Delta for no reason. Well, he kinda did, but there's context. Braden Mitchell, 22 years old, born and raised in Austin, Texas. The kind of Austin kid who moved there in middle school when his parents relocated from Ohio and now talks about Austin like he personally invented breakfast tacos. This guy's entire personality could be summarized in 3 words: skincare, skincare, and skincare. His morning routine had 12 steps. 12. He timed it. 47 minutes every morning before he could face the world. Double cleanse with a rice water formula he ordered from South Korea. Toner. Vitamin C serum. 15% concentration because anything higher was, and I quote, literally toxic for my skin. Hyaluronic acid, niacinamide, eye cream, because apparently at 22, the under eyes need their own dedicated product. Moisturizer, SPF 50, mineral only, reef safe. Because Braden cared about the coral reefs, even though the closest ocean to Austin was a 6-hour drive. He had a necessaire, that little pouch thing, and it contained 14 products. 14. This man spent more on his face per month than most people spend on groceries. Everything had to be clean beauty, cruelty-free, organic, paraben-free, sulfate-free. Basically free of anything that actually works, but hey, the vibes were immaculate. His apartment was a studio he could barely afford in East Austin, decorated exclusively with things he saw on TikTok. A sunset lamp, 3 plants he was slowly killing, a Stanley Cup in sage green that went everywhere with him because hydration was a personality trait now. He rated restaurants based on their bathroom soap, literally. He once posted a 1-star review of a taco place because they had generic hand soap in the dispenser instead of something with tea tree oil. He sent back a smoothie at a juice bar because he suspected the honey wasn't organic. He was, in every conceivable way, the final boss of modern American comfort. A man engineered by 2 decades of Amazon Prime, central air conditioning, and the unshakable belief that discomfort was a violation of his basic human rights. So how did he end up in ancient Egypt? Great question. Blame TikTok, obviously, because what else would it be? Braden was lying on his bed at 11 p.m., freshly moisturized, doing his nightly scroll. A filter popped up. What ancient civilization are you? One of those face-scanning things that maps your features and spits out a result. He'd done "What kind of bread are you?" last week and gotten sourdough, which he was still proud of. So he pointed the camera at his perfectly hydrated face. Watched the little golden animation scan him, and the screen flashed. Ancient Egypt. Cool fun. Except the flash didn't stop. His phone screen went gold, then white, then black. The phone died. When he opened his eyes, he was standing on sand. Not beach sand, desert sand. Hot, dry, and stretching in every direction like God had forgotten to add the rest of the level. The air smelled like smoke, animal dung, and something sweet rotten he couldn't place. His skincare pouch was still in his left hand. His phone showed 3% battery and 0 bars of signal. Somewhere nearby, a donkey was screaming. Which brings us back to the hut, the crocodile dung, and the worst day of Braden's adult life. Now here's the thing about that crocodile dung. It wasn't random. The ancient Egyptians had an actual medical textbook, the Papyrus Abers, written around 1550 BC, over 3,000 years before Braden's dermatologist started a podcast. This scroll was 20 meters long and contained over 700 remedies. And a solid chunk of those remedies involved dung. Crocodile dung for wounds, hippo dung for certain skin conditions, pelican droppings mixed with oil for who knows what. This wasn't some fringe healer doing his own thing. This was mainstream Egyptian medicine, peer-reviewed if your peers were also covered in animal feces. So when that healer offered Braden a handful of crocodile poop, he wasn't being weird. He was being professional. Let that sink in for a second. A guy who won't put anything on his face that isn't organic and cruelty-free just got offered the most organic, most cruelty-adjacent skincare product in human history. Freshly squeezed from a Nile crocodile. You cannot make this up. Braden stumbled out of the healer's hut and into sunlight that felt like standing inside a toaster oven. The heat in Austin could hit 105, sure. But Austin had air conditioning. Austin had iced coffee. Austin had Uber rides with the AC blasting while you complained about the heat from the comfort of a leather back seat. This was different. 47 degrees Celsius, about 117 Fahrenheit, with absolutely nowhere to go. No buildings with AC. No shade structures for common people. Just the sun, the sand, and the slow realization that his Nike slides were melting into the ground. He could feel the soles getting soft and sticky against the burning earth. His feet were cooking. He tried to find shade, any shade, but the mud brick buildings were small and the shadows were thin and already occupied by people who clearly had seniority on the whole shade situation. He reached for his SPF 50. Still in the pouch, he squeezed out a palmful and applied it to his face, neck, and arms, doing the full routine out of pure muscle memory. It melted off in about 4 minutes, just slid right down his face like his skin was a non-stick pan. He reapplied, same result. Meanwhile, every Egyptian around him was covered in this grayish-brown paste that actually seemed to be working. He watched a woman apply it to her arms and face. Through desperate gestures and some truly tragic mime work, he figured out what it was. Nile mud mixed with hippo fat. That was their sunscreen. Hippopotamus fat, rendered mixed with river mud and slathered on the body. The narrator needs a moment here. This man, this beautiful skincare prince from Austin, Texas, who once returned a moisturizer because it contained a trace amount of dimethicone, is now standing in the Egyptian sun watching people protect themselves with hippo fat. And you know what? Their skin looked fine. Better than fine. Meanwhile, his $42 La Roche-Posay was running down his chin like tears. Clean beauty, Egyptian edition, cruelty-free. The hippo would strongly disagree. Then came the water situation, and honestly, this is where things got genuinely dark. Braden was dehydrated. His Stanley cup was empty. Someone handed him a clay cup filled with water. He was so thirsty, he drank without looking. It tasted like dirt, copper, and something biological he didn't want to identify. Then he saw where the water came from. The Nile. Beautiful, legendary. Absolutely disgusting Nile. He walked to the bank and watched the scene unfold like a nightmare in real time. Upstream, a group of women were washing clothes. Next to them, 2 men were bathing. A little further up, a dead animal, probably a goat, was floating gently downstream, bloated and spinning in the current. Downstream from where Braden was standing, people were openly using the river as a toilet. And across the way, maybe 30 feet out, a crocodile was watching everything with the calm patience of an apex predator who knows exactly where his next meal is coming from. This was the same water for everything: drinking, cooking, bathing, laundry, waste disposal, crocodile habitat. One river to rule them all. Here's a fun fact that Braden absolutely did not need to hear right then, but I'm going to tell you anyway. A parasite called schistosomiasis lived in the Nile. Tiny little worm that would burrow through your skin just from wading in the water. Roughly 50% of the ancient Egyptian population was infected with it. 50%. It caused blood in the urine, and the Egyptians were so used to seeing it that they thought boys were supposed to bleed like that. They considered it a form of male menstruation, a sign that a boy was becoming a man. Let me say that again. They thought peeing blood was a milestone, a coming-of-age moment. Braden, who once panicked because his pee was slightly yellow and WebMD told him he might be dying, was now drinking from a river that could literally make him bleed from the inside out. He took one more sip and dry heaved. Food wasn't any better. Someone handed him bread. Flat dense, the color of wet sand.
Unexpected.
He was starving, so he bit into it. It crunched. Not like a baguette crunches, like he was chewing gravel, because he basically was. Egyptian bread was ground using stone mills, and the process left sand, grit, and tiny stone fragments embedded in the flour. Every bite was like eating a Nature Valley bar mixed with a driveway. His gums bled immediately. Here's what archaeologists found when they examined Egyptian mummies: teeth worn down to the root, jaw abscesses the size of marbles. The ancient Egyptians had, by most accounts, the worst dental health in the ancient world. And it was because of the bread. The one food they ate every single day was slowly grinding their teeth into nothing. Braden, who had porcelain veneers he was still making payments on, felt one of them crack on the second bite. Then someone offered him beer. Now, Braden was a craft beer guy. IPAs, sours, the whole Austin brewery scene. He thought he knew beer. He did not know this beer. Egyptian beer was thick, unfiltered, warm, chunky. It had the consistency of oatmeal and the taste of fermented bread water, which is exactly what it was. Little bits of grain floated in it. It was less of a beverage and more of a meal you could technically drink. This wasn't something you ordered at happy hour. This was survival calories in liquid form. Workers received daily rations of bread and beer, and that was basically it. That was the menu. Sand bread and grain sludge every day until you died, which, given everything else going on, could be Tuesday. Now let's talk about the lice, because we have to. Braden had been scratching since he arrived, but he figured it was the heat or the sand, or his body's general protest against everything happening to it. It wasn't. It was lice. Head lice, body lice, every kind of lice. He looked around and noticed something he'd somehow missed before. Everyone was bald. Not by choice, not for fashion, not for aerodynamics. Because of the lice. Ancient Egyptians shaved everything. Head, eyebrows, arms, legs, everywhere. Complete deforestation from the neck up. It was the only way to manage the infestations. Someone handed Braden a bronze razor. It looked like a dull butter knife with ambition. The message was clear: shave or suffer. Braden, who used a $35 shampoo with biotin and rosemary extract, who had spent 3 years growing his hair out to the perfect length for a middle part, grabbed the razor. 20 minutes later, he was bald. Completely bald, eyebrows gone. He looked like a freshly peeled egg with a sunburn. Then they offered him a wig made of real human hair, collected from who knows where, tied to a mesh base. He put it on because the sun on his bare scalp was unbearable. It itched immediately, because the wig also had lice. Of course it did. The solution to the lice problem came with its own lice problem. It was the circle of life, ancient Egypt edition. Hakuna Matata meant nothing here. The bathroom situation deserves its own moment of silence. There was no bathroom. Let me be extremely clear about this. No toilet, no outhouse, no designated area. Braden was shown a ceramic pot in the corner of the room he was sharing with 5 other people. The pot was maybe 8 inches wide. When it got full, and it got full fast with 6 people using it, someone would carry it to the Nile and dump it into the same river they were drinking from. The alternative was going to the riverbank directly, squatting in the reeds, and hoping that one of the crocodiles that patrolled the shallows wasn't feeling hungry. Braden, a man who owned a heated toilet seat with a built-in bidet and ambient lighting, a man who kept a bottle of Aesop hand wash next to every sink in his apartment, was now squatting over a clay pot, while a stranger 3 feet away was eating bread. No walls, no door, no flush, no dignity. He whispered, "This is giving trauma." And honestly, for once, the Gen Z slang was perfectly appropriate. Then came the labor. Braden did not volunteer for this. Nobody asked him if he was interested. A man with a stick pointed at a pile of limestone blocks and then pointed at a spot about 200 yards away. The message was clear even without a shared language. Move those, over there, now. Under the full Egyptian sun, which was now pushing past 50 degrees, Braden started dragging a block. He had no shoes. Common workers didn't have shoes. The sand beneath him was hot enough to fry the eggs that didn't exist in his diet because he'd gone plant-based 3 months ago for his skin. His feet blistered within an hour. His hands, which had never done anything rougher than open a La Croix can, cracked open and bled. He watched an overseer lash a man with a short whip for sitting down. Not for refusing to work, for sitting down, for taking an unauthorized break. This wasn't the movie version of ancient Egypt with dramatic music and dignified suffering. This was real. Workers received rations of bread and beer. Overseers kept detailed attendance records on papyrus. If you missed a day, you got beaten. If you slowed down, you got beaten. If you sat down, well. Braden pushed his block, his bleeding hands leaving red streaks on the limestone, and somewhere inside him, the guy who once called in sick from his barista job because his horoscope said it was a low-energy day, was having a very serious conversation with reality. Okay, let me just pause here for a second. Can we talk about the absolute comedy of this situation? A 22-year-old man who has never lifted anything heavier than his Stanley Cup, whose biggest physical challenge last month was a hot yoga class he left early because it was too hot. The yoga was too hot, that was the whole point. This man is now hauling limestone blocks in the Egyptian desert. His hands are bleeding, his feet are burning, and his biggest concern 3 days ago was that his niacinamide serum was slightly past its expiration date. I need you to understand the distance between those two realities. It's not a gap, it's a canyon, with crocodiles in it. By day 3, Braden's eyes were red, swollen, burning every time he blinked. Trachoma, the eye infection that was so common in ancient Egypt it was practically a national feature. The healer showed up again, same guy. The crocodile dung enthusiast, Braden flinched. But this time the treatment was different. Honey mixed with goose fat, formed into a paste, applied directly into the infected eye. Directly into the eye. Someone held Braden's arms while the healer pried his eyelid open and smeared it in. He screamed so loud that a donkey outside startled and kicked over a water jug. The honey stung. The fat was warm and greasy, and it felt like someone had poured cooking oil mixed with fire into his eyeball. But here's the crazy part. It kinda worked. Honey has natural antibacterial properties, and the Egyptians figured that out 3,000 years before anyone understood what bacteria was. Doesn't mean it didn't hurt like absolute hell, but it worked. Then came the toothache. All that sand in the bread had been grinding away at Braden's teeth, and on day 4 the pain hit. Sharp, throbbing, the kind of toothache where your whole jaw feels like it has a heartbeat. He went back to the healer hoping for something, anything. The healer nodded, reached into a jar, and pulled out a small dried mouse. A dead mouse. He ground it up with some herbs, mixed it into a paste, and packed it into Braden's gum around the aching tooth. Dead mouse on his gums. The Papyrus Ebers actually recommended this. It was in the manual, page whatever of the 3,000-year-old medical scroll. Got a toothache, mouse paste. Braden sat there, dead mouse juice seeping into his gums, tears running down his face, and thought about the time he switched dentists because the old one used fluoride that wasn't naturally derived. Nighttime was supposed to be a break from the horror. It was not. Braden's bed was the ground. The floor of the room was packed dirt mixed with cow dung, which was actually a standard building material in ancient Egypt because it dried hard and kept the insects somewhat at bay. Somewhat. Scorpions were active at night. Small ones, big ones, all of them angry about something. Snakes came out for the mice. Mosquitoes, clouds of them, buzzing in his ears, biting every inch of exposed skin. These weren't just annoying. These mosquitoes carried malaria. No net, no repellent, no walls thick enough to keep any of it out. Braden lay on the dung floor, listening to things skitter and crawl around him. Eyes wide open in the dark. His body so exhausted that he couldn't move, but his mind so terrified that he couldn't sleep. Back in Austin, he slept on a Casper mattress with bamboo sheets and a white noise machine set to gentle rain. Here, the white noise was actual insects eating him alive. Day 5, the hygiene moment, or rather, the complete absence of hygiene moment. Braden hadn't bathed since he'd arrived. His skin, the same skin he'd spent 22 years protecting with 12-step routines and Korean serums, was coated in a layer of sand, sweat, rancid oil, and things he didn't want to think about. Someone showed him how to bathe. The process was exactly this. You rubbed oil on your body, rancid castor oil. To be specific, it smelled like a Whole Foods dumpster on a hot day. Then you took a flat wooden blade and scraped the oil off along with the dirt. That was it. That was the bath. No water, no soap. Soap wouldn't be invented for another few centuries. Just oil and scrape, like degreasing a pan, except the pan was your body and the degreaser smelled worse than the grease. I need a moment. Let me get this straight. This man had a 12-step skincare routine, vitamin C serum, retinol on Tuesdays and Thursdays, hyaluronic acid for plumpness, a jade roller he kept in the fridge, and now, his entire beauty regimen is rancid oil and a wooden stick. His moisturizer is hippo fat. His sunscreen is river mud. His medicine is crocodile dung. His toothpaste is a dead mouse. Every product in his 14-piece skincare pouch has been replaced by something that came out of an animal. The irony isn't just thick, it's thick with 2 C's, as the kids say. And Braden is living it. Then, on the 5th night, the scorpion got him. He felt it before he saw it. A white-hot sting on his ankle, like someone had pressed a lit cigarette into his skin. His foot swelled up fast, twice its size in minutes, the skin tight and shiny and hot to the touch. The pain radiated up his entire leg. His heart started racing. He couldn't breathe right. The healer came. Of course the healer came. That man was everywhere like an ancient Egyptian urgent care facility with legs. The treatment was a paste of animal dung, because what else would it be, applied to the sting site, followed by a series of chanted incantations, magic spells, actual spoken word magic to heal a scorpion sting. Braden was having an allergic reaction, his throat tightening, his vision going blurry, and his medical team consisted of one man with poop in one hand and a spell in the other. This was the moment Braden genuinely believed he was going to die. Not metaphorically, not "I'm literally dying" like he said when the Wi-Fi went down. Actually, medically, irreversibly die. On a dirt floor in ancient Egypt, covered in crocodile feces, with a dead mouse in his gums at 22. His phone sitting in the corner with 1% battery was completely useless. No Uber to the ER, no WebMD to doom scroll, just a man, his dung, and his incantations. And somehow, after what felt like hours of burning, the swelling started to go down. Braden survived, barely. The healer looked satisfied, like this was just another Tuesday, which it was. And then somewhere around what might have been day 7 or day 70, Braden lost track. His phone buzzed, 1% battery. The screen flickered, the TikTok app glitched open, the civilization filter loaded for half a second, flashed gold, and the world went wide. When he opened his eyes, he was standing in his apartment in Austin. Same studio, same sunset lamp, same dying plants. He looked down at himself. Filthy, sunburned everywhere, head completely bald, covered in scrapes, insect bites, in something brown he refused to identify. He smelled like rancid oil, crocodile dung, and despair. His skincare pouch was empty. He'd used the hyaluronic acid on his cracked lips somewhere around day 3. He'd tried the vitamin C serum on his scorpion sting. It did nothing. The retinol was gone. The SPF 50 was a distant memory. 14 products gone. Consumed by ancient Egypt like everything else. He walked to his bathroom, turned on the faucet. Clean water came out. Clear, filtered, temperature-controlled, parasite-free water. He stared at it for a full minute, just watching it flow. Then he took a shower, a 45-minute shower with soap. Real modern, beautifully scented soap. He used every product he owned. He shampooed his bald head out of habit. He brushed his teeth 3 times. He sat on his heated toilet seat, the one with the bidet and the ambient lighting, and he just sat there, breathing, in a room with walls and a door and no scorpions. Braden is different now, not in a motivational poster way, in a deeply specific, slightly concerning way. He flinches when he sees crocodiles on TV. Doesn't matter if it's a documentary or a cartoon, full body flinch. He can't eat bread without breaking it open first and inspecting it for sand.
Where is it? Wait.
He checks.
Is that? No.
Every time. He threw away his TikTok filter collection, all of them, even the one that made him look like a golden retriever. He still does his 12-step skincare routine every single morning. But now he holds each product for a moment before applying it and whispers, "I'm grateful," to the bottle. The niacinamide gets a thank you. The vitamin C serum gets a small nod of respect. The SPF 50 gets a full moment of silence. And every time someone in Austin complains about the heat, every time someone says it's 105 and they just can't deal, Braden gets this look, this 1,000-yard stare, like a man who has been to a place where the sunscreen was made of hippo fat, the medicine was made of crocodile poop, and the toothpaste was a dead mouse. Which, to be fair, is exactly what happened. So next time you're about to complain that your oat milk latte has too much foam, or that the Wi-Fi at the coffee shop is running slow, or that your skin is breaking out because you tried a new moisturizer that wasn't cruelty-free enough, just remember. Somewhere in ancient Egypt, A healer with a clay pot full of crocodile dung is waiting for you, and he does not accept health insurance.